Hey there, and welcome. Today we're diving into a really fascinating, maybe even a little bit radical idea about the English language. What if we could make it, well, just simpler? I mean, really think about it for a second. Have you ever just felt like English has way too many words? You know, thousands upon thousands of them. You've got tricky spellings, super complex grammar, and synonyms for your synonyms. It can be a huge headache, a real barrier to just communicating clearly. Okay, so what if I told you that you could say pretty much anything you wanted to say with just this many words?
Yep, you're seeing that right. 850. That is the core idea, the whole foundation of a system called Basic English. And it was designed from the ground up to be this incredibly clear, simple, and effective tool for, well, for everyone, really.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to look at what Basic English actually is. We'll take a word right from the list and see how it works, break down its anatomy, understand the whole system behind it, and then we'll get into the real power of all this simplicity.
So, first things first, what even is Basic English? Well, it's what's called an international auxiliary language. It was developed way back in the 1930s by a linguist named Charles K. Ogden. And the goal here, and this is important, it's not to replace regular, full-blown English. Nope. The idea is to have a simple, straightforward, common ground so that anyone can communicate clearly.
And what's so crucial to get about this is it's not just a random list of 850 words. Not at all. It's a super carefully curated system. Every single one of those 850 words was picked for a reason, for how useful it is, how versatile it is. They're like the fundamental Lego blocks for building a ton of different ideas.
Okay, that all sounds great in theory, right? But to really see how this works, let's get out of the abstract and look at a real concrete example. We're going to pull a word right from the Simple English Wiktionary, which, by the way, is just a fantastic resource for this kind of stuff.
And the word we're going to put under the microscope is liquid. Pretty common word, right? Well, it is officially on that Basic English 850 list. They call it the BE 850, which means it's one of the core foundational words of the whole system.
So let's go ahead and just deconstruct its entry, and you'll see these principles of simplicity and clarity just pop right out.
Okay, check out the definition for liquid as a noun. See how it doesn't use any complicated sciencey jargon? It just says it's similar to water, not solid or gas. That's it. And that right there is a core principle of the system. You explain concepts using other simple words from the list. And the example sentence, she put the liquid in a glass. It's direct, it's relatable, anybody can get that. And get this system is super efficient. The same word, liquid, also works as an adjective. And again, the definition is just crystal clear, a thing that is in the form of a liquid. This shows you how they make one simple word do a lot of work, how it's made to be versatile. And that's absolutely key to keeping that total word count down to just 850. So you can start to see how every single part of this entry is just engineered for understanding. You've got your pronunciation guide right there. The definition is simple. You get an everyday example so you can see it in action. And it's clearly labeled as a noun or an adjective. It's like a complete little toolkit for just one word. All right, so that's one word. Now let's zoom out a bit and see how this one word fits into the bigger system. Because this isn't just a flat list, you know? It's a really deeply organized structure. If you look at how the word liquid is categorized, you can really see the logic of the whole system. B850, that just confirms, yep, it's on the core list. The grammar tags tell us exactly how we can use it. And then you have these thematic groups like liquids, which are just incredibly useful if you're trying to learn, right? You can learn a bunch of related words all at once. They even note the phonology, the number of syllables. It really shows you there's a real design and architecture behind this, all to make it easier to learn. Okay, so we've looked at the word, we've seen the system, but let's zoom out one last time. Why does any of this matter? What's the big deal? What is the real power of this kind of radical simplicity?
Well, here's your answer right here. This is a perfect illustration. On one side, you've got this complex technical sentence. The experiment required the careful decantation of a non-viscous aqueous solution. What? You know, a lot of people are going to stumble over that. But on the other side, you have the exact same idea said with simple, basic English words. The work needed a thin, water-like liquid to be moved from one pot to the next. See? The meaning is exactly the same, but the clarity, the accessibility, they're just worlds apart. This is all about removing barriers to understanding.
And really, this brings us to the biggest takeaway. Basic English, it's more than just a little word list. It's a whole philosophy. It makes you ask a really fundamental question. In a world that is just full of jargon and complicated language, what more could we get done? In technical manuals, in international business, or even just teaching someone a new subject. What could we achieve if we all made our communication just a little bit simpler?